The Zodiac Killer hasn't actively terrorized Northern California since the late 1960s. Yet Chronicle reporter Kevin Fagan still receives hundreds of tips a year from readers, claiming to know new details about San Francisco's most notorious serial killer. Fagan has been covering the Zodiac for more than 25 years. But the San Francisco Chronicle has been inexorably linked to the case from the beginning. Of the 22 known bizarre letters and ciphers the Zodiac sent to Bay Area newsrooms, 17 of them came to the Chronicle. Each letter was more frightening than the last, especially when the killer threatened to shoot children riding a school bus and started targeting Chronicle staffers. Probably the most chilling of them all was a Halloween card the Zodiac sent to Chronicle reporter Paul Avery that included the phrase, "Peekaboo, you are doomed." Zodiac Killer. ID of Donna Lass' skull helps prove the Zodiac killed her in 1970, sleuths say. These eerie messages, when combined with his rampage of brutal killings, continue to fuel the public's decades-long obsession with the unresolved Zodiac Killer case. As internet sleuths comb over the case archives in search of potential clues, here is a summary of what the Chronicle knows about the Zodiac Killer, his victims, and his twisted legacy. When was the Zodiac Killer active? The Zodiac Killer's officially verified murder spree began in 1968 and ended in 1969. The Zodiac Killer claimed he murdered a total of 37 people dating into the 1970s, but authorities have only confirmed 4 attacks. 5 victims were killed and 2 survived. Here are the incidents in chronological order. December 20, 1968. David Faraday, 17, and his date, Betty Lou Jensen, 16, were parked on Lake Herman Road in Benicia when the Zodiac Killer snuck up on them and fired a .22 caliber semi-automatic pistol. Scrambling in terror, the young couple died in a spray of gunfire. July 4, 1969. Darlene Ferrin, 22, and her friend Michael Maggio, 19, drove to a secluded parking lot at Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo to chat. A car pulled up toward the driver's side, and the silhouette inside the car watched them for a moment before taking off. The car returned minutes later and parked toward the passenger's side. The shooter fired 5 shots through the window. Only Maggio survived. Sept. 27, 1969. Cecilia Shepard, 22, was sitting on a blanket with her longtime friend and ex-boyfriend Brian Hartnell, 20, at Lake Berryessa. A man came out of the bushes wearing a hooded costume with a rifle sight crosshair symbol on the chest, the symbol Zodiac used in his letters, and stabbed them repeatedly. Hartnell survived and was able to describe the Zodiac's costume in detail. October 11, 1969. Paul Stein, 29, was working a late shift as a taxi driver. He was hailed by a man on San Francisco's Geary Street. After driving the passenger to Presidio Heights, he was shot to death with a 9mm semi-automatic pistol. The killer mailed a piece of Stein's shirt to the Chronicle with a letter claiming credit for the murder. The taxi's blood-spattered door is among the San Francisco Police Department's pieces of Zodiac Killer-related evidence. Although his carnage spanned less than a year, the moniker was cemented into history. The Zodiac Killer was never caught. What is the origin of the Zodiac Killer's moniker? The killer referred to himself as Zodiac in the many letters he sent to newsrooms. His first letters came in a salvo of 3, simultaneously sent on July 31, 1969. To the Chronicle, San Francisco Examiner, and Vallejo Times Herald, and claiming credit for the first 2 attacks, but he didn't use his infamous moniker then. The spooky name didn't debut until his next letter, sent to the Examiner on August 4, 1969. It's never been determined why the killer gave himself that name, but the press soon started calling him the Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer's coded messages. One of the most chilling characteristics of the Zodiac Killer was the string of letters with cryptograms and taunts he sent to newspapers. In total, there are 20 known letters, 17 of which were sent to the San Francisco Chronicle. The Chronicle also received 3 of his known cryptograms, including 408 cipher. Parts of Zodiac's first cipher were sent to the Chronicle and 2 other newsrooms on July 31, 1969. It was quickly solved by Bay Area residents Donald Jean and Betty June Harden. 340 cipher. Jab the Z340. The cryptogram was sent on November 8, 1969, and remained unsolved for more than 5 decades. The solution was finally cracked by a code-breaking team in December 2020. My name is Cipher. The brief 13-character cryptogram was sent on April 20, 1970. As part of a letter that begins with "This is the Zodiac speaking. By the way, have you cracked the last cipher I sent you? My name is..." No one has been able to solve the following 13 letters and symbols, though they've definitely tried. Why was the Zodiac Killer's identity so hard to uncover? The Zodiac Killer used disguises and rarely left direct evidence at crime scenes. He targeted random victims and often changed the ways he carried out his killings, all of which made it difficult for investigators to trace him through typical investigative means. The Zodiac case has led to numerous suspects over the years. When asked who is his number one suspect, Chronicle reporter Kevin Fagan says Arthur Lee Allen is probably the best bet. Citing similar suppositions by former Chronicle reporter Robert Graysmith and the late San Francisco homicide inspector Dave Toschi, and noting that Allen, a Vallejo man who died in 1992, is still the only suspect ever officially named by investigators. In 1996, San Francisco detectives also looked into the possibility that Unabomber suspect Ted Kaczynski was also the Zodiac. Among the possible links were that Kaczynski lived in the Bay Area from 1967 to 1969, the same period that the Zodiac's confirmed killings occurred in California. Kaczynski also once signed a high school yearbook with a symbol similar to the Zodiac's. Another notable claim was from 2009, when Deborah Perez alleged that her father, Guy Ward Hendrickson, was Zodiac. Perez, a real estate agent in Orange County, said she accompanied her father on at least 2 of the slayings and has a pair of brown horn-rimmed eyeglasses she said her father snatched from victim Paul Stein. Investigators said they weren't aware of receiving anything from Perez, but would look into her story. As time keeps passing, witnesses and potential suspects have aged, died, or disappeared, making this cold case almost impossible to solve. Are there any new Zodiac Killer clues? Though the case has been officially cold for decades, amateur internet sleuths keep finding ways to breathe new life into the Zodiac mystery. In 2021, a private team of investigators calling themselves the Case Breakers said they had determined the Zodiac was a man in the Sierra foothills who died in 2018, but police officials said the tip didn't hold up. Also in 2021, Friol Ziraoui, a business consultant from Paris, claimed that he had cracked 2 ciphers and identified the killer as Lawrence K., a South Lake Tahoe resident that other sleuths had scrutinized previously. K died in 2010, and authorities never officially identified him as a suspect. Then in June 2023, Ziraoui alleged that an eerie rock formation in the Sierra Nevada was the same symbol that the Zodiac Killer used in his correspondence during his reign of terror. The rocks are arranged in a bullseye pattern about 25 feet wide, on a 600-foot plateau overlooking Hellhole Reservoir near Tahoe. Ziraoui told the Chronicle by email he had to keep some details of his investigation private, but said he had been interested in the Hellhole Reservoir area before seeing the photos online. According to sources close to the official Zodiac investigation, the rock formation doesn't appear to be a case-breaking development.